At this time, I would like to open the meeting and an audience portion for anyone wishing to speak on any items on the agenda. Okay, being there none. At this point, the board will go into executive session. In a closed session under Texas Government Code Section 551.074 to perform a grievance hearing for Dr. Jennifer Hammett and another for Mr. Gary Henley. And then under Section 551.071 to consult briefly with our attorney. No action will be taken in closed session. So the Board of Trustees of Mesquite ISD is going to reconvene from closed session. And at this time, we're going to take action relative to items considered during the executive session. Does anyone have a motion?
Which grievance are we?
The first one is the one with Dr. Hammett.
I move to uphold the decision at the level 3, at the level 2 hearing.
Okay,
Second.
who's second? So there's a motion by Mr. Everett, a second by Ms. Collier to uphold the administration's decision on the grievance for Dr. Hammett. I would like for you to show your vote with a show of hands. So with that, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. That carries 7-0. Item number 2 was the grievance of Mr. Henley.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we uphold the level 2 grievance by the administration.
Second.
So there's a motion by Mr. Rose, a second by Mr. Everett to uphold the administration's decision on grievance 2 for Mr. Henley. Same as the last one, show by hands. All those in favor, please indicate by
Sir.
showing hands.
Sir,
Yeah.
I abstain.
Yes, good. Got that. Opposed, same sign. There's one abstention. The vote is 6-0. Okay. Decisions have been taken. Thank you very much, Board. With that, we'll continue to our meeting. The invocation today will be by Reverend Chad Flowers. He is the pastor at Emmanuel Pentecostal Church, if you would be so kind. After that, we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance. They're going to be led by our students from Mackenzie Elementary. Pastor.
Thank you. Let's bow our heads and pray. Lord, we come to you tonight with grateful hearts, especially I myself, because I am a product of MISD, and for the privilege of serving our students, our families, and this community. We thank you, God, for the gift of education, for every teacher and student and staff member that is a part of this school district. As this board gathers tonight to conduct the business decisions that will impact this school district, we ask for wisdom and guidance. Grant Dr. Angel Rivera and each of these board members clarity of mind, unity of purpose, and compassion in every choice made. Help them to listen with understanding, to speak with respect, and to act with integrity. Bless our schools with safety, creativity, and a spirit of cooperation. And may every student who walks through the doors of our schools find encouragement, purpose, and the opportunity to grow into their fullest potential. We ask all of this in the mighty name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
I'm Savannah, and I'm in 5th grade.
I am Gabby, and I'm in 5th grade.
I'm Dalisa, and I'm in 5th grade.
I'm Kelly Castañeda, and I'm in 5th grade.
So next, at this time, we are going to go to the Team of 8 moment, to the board moment. And I believe Mr. Kahili is, oh, there he is. Our city manager, Mr. Cliff Kahili, has some words that he's going to share with us.
Members of the board, Dr. Rivera, thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about something that's going on with the city of Mesquite. We value our partnership and the support that you give us each and every day and to our staff, and so I appreciate the time today. This is a presentation that we are giving to the public, so I may jump through a few things because I'm assuming that y'all know a few of the things that are going on with the city. But it's no doubt, thank you. So it's no doubt that our community is growing. We are at a population of 157,000 people. We have 39,000 single-family homes and 15,000 multifamily homes. Our total certified value has now grown to over $15.9 billion. Our city is roughly 49.3 square miles, and our city organization currently has 1,250 employees. Sorry, I'm new with the clicker. So over the past few years, we've regularly surveyed our residents. And when it comes to city services, public safety and roads continue to rank as the highest priorities for the community. And the cost of these services, just like about everything else, continue to increase. And in order to keep up with the response times and the level of service our citizens want, the City Council has to adopt a budget to allocate the necessary funding to supply those services. So why do we need a tax election? In 2019, the state legislature, as you know, implemented Senate Bill 2, which among other things, limited the amount of revenue a municipality could collect to just 3.5% from the previous year. This does not include the revenue of new growth in the community for that tax year. As a growing city, we need to expand services, and which often requires more revenue than the legislation will allow. So this year, as has been done previously, the council has adopted a tax rate that will require approval from citizens. In order to generate the revenue needed to fund all of the community's priorities, City Council has voted on a tax rate of 0.73 cents per $100 value. This is an increase of 4 cents over the last tax year. The legislative intent is for citizens to have more input on how their community grows and develops. With this tax rate election, the City Council has effectively placed the budget decisions into the hands of citizens. Thus, an election is required to vote for or against the new tax rate. The proposed budget was prepared based on input from citizens gathered over the past year. We start off with a citizen survey that gathers input on citizens' feelings for the highest priorities in the community. The council holds policy and goal retreats to discuss priorities. We have regular town hall meetings and council district meetings, which several of you have attended, to meet with citizens and share their concerns. In the summer, we prepare the budget, we hold a workshop, and conduct 3 public hearings to gain input from the citizens on how best to use the revenues we receive. Our annual budget has to take into account the services we are currently providing, the maintenance of our existing infrastructure, and compensating the employees who provide these services each and every day. This year's budget also includes strategic needs to account for future growth, so our services can keep up with the needs of the community. As the council has laid out this year's budget, the focus is on the highest priorities of the community: streets, fire, and police. This year's budget includes the addition of 3 police officers. In order to add patrols to the future needs of the community, the city will need to increase officers each and every year. The city's charter requires 1.6 officers per 100 residents. This is 248, excuse me. City Council has a goal of staying 5% above this required number. This allows for us to steadily increase the number and not play catch-up year to year. It also allows the police chief to look ahead and put programs in place knowing that he will have the resources necessary to address the concerns in the community. We currently have 263 officers on staff, which is 15 over the charter requirement. And this proposed budget would bring this number to 266. The 2026 budget also includes the addition of 2 firefighters. While the department is fully staffed, thanks to the last election that approved 15 additional firefighters, and for station number 8, our current rate of growth will require additional staffing to ensure that we have effective coverage and response times throughout the city. The additional staffing, strategically budgeted over the next few years, will allow staffing of a new ladder truck for station number 8 down in South Mesquite, and ensure that we have effective coverage for structure fires and medical calls throughout the community. The condition of our roads and alleys continue to present a challenge for our residents and our staff. Undoubtedly, many of us drove through potholes to get to the meeting tonight. While we have made significant progress in repairing and replacing roadways the past few years, the cost of concrete and labor continues to increase. In order to repair and replace the more streets and alleys, this budget will include additional funding for repairs throughout the city. The city currently budgets about $5 million for street and alley maintenance, in addition to the street and alley reconstruction projects that we have going on throughout the community. I'm proud to announce that La Prada Drive is going to begin reconstruction in 2026, and we are in the process of the final designs for Lawson Road for 2027. Oates Drive will also receive a new overlay this coming year. The city has been aggressive in replacement of aging and under-designed roadways with the reconstruction of Lucas Boulevard, Town East Boulevard, and the overlays of Motley and Oates. Recent repairs to Town East, Military Parkway, Northwest Drive, Tripp, and many other streets are showing considerable progress, but definitely more is needed. To continue to stay aggressive, this budget includes funding for repairs. One of the biggest challenges in serving the community is to effectively compensate employees. The city routinely surveys area cities to determine market averages and maintain pay for the average positions. One of the biggest challenges is competing with area cities in police and fire pay. For the last several years, due to challenges in hiring police and fire personnel, area cities have steadily increased the pay for these positions. And as we have some of the best police and fire departments in the state, the council has maintained that funds be allocated to keep pay competitive. The council has utilized a 7-city comparison for public safety starting pay. And based on surveys done in June, police are 4.9% below the 7-city average, and fire is 1.3% below the average. As part of the budget's proposal, a 5% increase is proposed to keep police and fire pay competitive. The challenge with this is that other cities are also increasing their budgets, and we never know what cities will do in funding for these areas. But we also have employees in other positions that are also in demand, and the city has to address those needs as well. In a recent compensation study, many general government employees, those are the inspectors, the clerical staff, the field personnel, they were from anywhere between 10 and 20% behind the market. This budget includes funding to help address those needs, as well as the fire and police starting pay. In addition to the additional public safety staffing and additional funding for roadway maintenance. This budget also includes additional staffing to support public safety through equipment maintenance and property and records maintenance. So ultimately, the tax rate election puts the decision on how the city grows, the speed at which it grows, and the level of services to provide at the hands of the citizens. As this is an important decision, we want to make sure that the citizens who are here tonight watching understand what it comes to the tax rate. The tax rate for 2025 was 0.69 cents per $100 value. The proposed rate is 0.73 cents. Like I said earlier, this is a 4-cent increase. However, state law allows the city to set a budget at what's called the voter-approved rate, which generates the revenue at 3.5% above the previous year's revenue. This rate would be 0.70469 cents. The impact on the average home in Mesquite, which is $238,000 according to DCAD, would be approximately $60 above the voter-approved rate, or about $5 per month. Residents who are eligible or have applied for the 65 tax freeze or the other tax exemptions would not be impacted by this tax rate. I'm not going to read the Proposition 8A ballot language, but we want to make sure the citizens know that this is state-approved language, and that's why it makes sure everybody knows that it is a tax rate increase and reminds them of the tax rates. But essentially, council will need to approve this new budget based on the revenues obtained through the lower tax rate. It means that and if the proposition does not pass, it will mean that there will be potentially longer implementation time on the added fire and police staffing, limits to the amount of road maintenance projects finished in the coming year, and potentially a reduction in some service levels from existing programs or initiatives. But one thing is for sure, we will continue to provide the highest quality services to the city of Mesquite based on the budget funds that are allowed. Just as a reminder, Election Day is November 4th, with early voting starting on October 20th. We also have some town hall meetings in which we'd love to answer questions from citizens. Those will be on October 15th at Rutherford Recreation Center and October 22nd at this building right here. So we thank you for the use of your building. We thank you for your time tonight. And if there's time, Dr. Rivera, Mr. Carbo, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Board? I do want to make a comment. I was able to make some of the budget public hearings and heard some of these concerns, especially the streets, so I'm very glad that you're addressing it. Same with the fire station in the southern part of Mesquite, which would be Fire Station 8. And I know we don't have one down there right now, and it's sometimes difficult to get there, but this is going to be a great benefit for South Mesquite. So I thank you for that, you and the council.
The new station will open in March. We're excited about that.
Great. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kahili. Next in the board moment, Eddie, I believe you had something?
Just real quick, I had the opportunity to go to the Klein Band Night the other night, and I'm telling you guys, the Fine Arts program has stepped it up. When you think they can't do any better, we have some amazing marching bands, and I can guarantee you that we're going to be going to state somewhere in this. We've just got some really good bands out there. If y'all haven't seen them, I encourage you to come to a football game and watch the marching bands, because I was literally blown away.
Awesome. Well, as an ex-band dad, I agree.
There you go.
Okay, with that, we will go board. Any other for the board moment? Any other comments? With that, we'll go to student and staff guests. Ms. Smith?
Good evening. We'll begin tonight's special recognition portion of the meeting with our prestigious Apple Corps program. The Apple Corps Award is made possible by a partnership between the Mesquite Education Foundation and Clay Cooley of Mesquite. We'd like to thank both of them for their support of our amazing educators. Our first October Apple Corps honoree is Brooke Podachi of Hodges Elementary School. Ms. Podachi is a kindergarten teacher with 21 years of teaching experience, all right here in Mesquite ISD. Let's take a look at see what makes her an Apple Corps teacher.
Ms. Badachi goes above and beyond every day to provide engaging lessons for her students. Her students are always excited to come to school every day and excited to get into class. She creates joyful lessons that her kindergarten students love, but also serves as a mentor liaison and guides student teachers with professionalism and care. She is admired by her students, respected by her colleagues, and exemplifies what it means to be both a role model and a leader. Her ability to balance classroom excellence with mentorship makes her truly deserving of this award. Congratulations, Ms. Padachi, on being Apple Corps Teacher.
Teaching is important to me because every day I have the opportunity to build confidence in my students, to discover their potential, and to develop a love for learning. I love when my students learn something new and I get to see how excited their face gets. But it's much more than just the academics and the lessons. It's about building relationships with my students and helping them build relationships with each other. And to create a classroom of kindness and creating a safe space for my students to feel valued and loved.
Congratulations, Ms. Padachi.
A whole bunch of stuff. I know. It is my honor to read this to Brooke. I hired Brooke. I know. So it's truly an honor to say this to you. She's a very special lady. Whereas the Mesquite Independent School District Board of Trustees seeks to honor outstanding classroom teachers, I knew that, who demonstrate leadership, innovation, and dedication to the students of Mesquite ISD, and whereas the Mesquite ISD Apple Corps consists of exceptional teachers nominated by their peers to receive the school district's highest recognition, therefore be it resolved that the board officially welcomes Brooke Padachi into the Mesquite ISD Apple Corps on this 6th day of October 2025. Love it. Congratulations.
All right. Good evening. I'm truly humbled and deeply honored to stand here tonight. I want to say thank you to Dr. Rivera, Dr. Fields, and the school board for this special recognition. I want to say a special thank you to Elaine Hornsby for taking a chance and hiring me 22 years ago for my first teaching job. Thank you. I want to take a moment to thank my family, whose love and support have been the foundation of my journey as a teacher. Your encouragement, patience, and understanding have allowed me to dedicate myself to my students. You've been there to lift me up, to remind me of my purpose, and to cheer me on. I'm truly grateful to have you by my side, because none of this would have been possible without your support. I also want to thank my students, past and present. Their curiosity, resilience, laughter, and even their challenges push me to be the best teacher I can be. They remind me why I choose this profession, and they inspire me to be better for them every single day. Sorry. I would also like to thank my principal, Ms. Bastidas, and all my colleagues at Hodges Elementary. It is truly an honor that they would choose me. The support, encouragement, and wisdom of my colleagues lift me up every day. Whether it's sharing ideas or celebrating small victories or simply offering a kind word on a tough day, you make this work not only possible but joyful. To be recognized by you, the people I admire most, feels like the highest honor I could ever receive. Thank you for believing in me, for walking beside me, and for making this work so meaningful. I will treasure this recognition always.
Our second Apple Corps honoree this month is Anna Marie Avilla of Tysinger Elementary School. Ms. Avilla is a 5th grade bilingual teacher with 10 years of teaching experience here in Mesquite ISD. If you'll turn your attention to the screens, we're going to learn more about Ms. Avilla.
Tysinger is so excited to announce that Mrs. Avila is our Apple Corps recipient. Mrs. Avila is a perfect combination of kindness and humility. She's a homegrown Mesquite girl who went through the bilingual program and can totally understand what her students are feeling as they are learning a new language. Outside of the classroom, Mrs. Avila is a mentor and is always ready to uplift others. Congratulations, Mrs. Avila. You are very deserving of this honor.
So teaching is important because we are shaping young learners' minds, not only academically, but as well in building their interpersonal skills. These skills are shaping our students as they get older and become successful. We help our students grow and conquer new things, which is why I think teaching is important.
Congratulations, Ms. Avila. Apologize for your name.
I think they should give you a wagon to carry on. I'm gonna read a proclamation. That's a different angle. Whereas the Mesquite Independent School District Board of Trustees seeks to honor outstanding classroom teachers who demonstrate leadership, innovation, and dedication to the students of Mesquite ISD. And whereas the Mesquite ISD Apple Corps consists of exceptional teachers nominated by their peers to receive the school district's highest recognition. Anna Maria Avila. Therefore, it be resolved that the board officially welcomes Anna Maria Avila into the Mesquite ISD Apple Corps on the 6th day of October, 2025.
Good evening. I want to start off by thanking Dr. Rivera and the Board of Trustees for this recognition. I feel honored to be here today, being recognized as an Apple Corp member. Before I go into my thank yous, I want to share a little bit about myself. I moved here from Mexico when I was 5 years old, and I was lucky to come to a district that had the bilingual program. This program helped me learn the new language, and as I got older, I wanted to become a bilingual teacher. So being able to give back to my community truly brings me a lot of joy. I also want to take a moment to say thank you to my family for always being there and supporting me through my teaching journey. A special thank you to my Tysinger family, who have always pushed me to grow as an educator. And lastly, I want to thank my students for giving me the opportunity to learn from them and creating those meaningful memories in my classroom. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Padachi, I was going to ask you, do you have your family here with you? Would you introduce them or have them stand so we could recognize them?
I have my husband, Niven, and my son, Kaden. And then I have my brother and his family, and my sister-in-law and my in-laws.
Anybody from your Hodges family? Yes. Yeah, come on, be recognized. Good. Same for Ms. Avila. Do you have your family here?
Yes, I have.
There he is.
So I have the whole group of my siblings, my mom, my daughters, and my husband.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Good. And I believe you have some of your Tysinger family? Yeah. Excellent. Thank you very much. We really appreciate everything you do. I mean, you're role models, and that's why you are here today, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Ms. Smith?
All right. Each month, we also recognize one of our outstanding paraprofessionals with the Star Para Award. MISD is excited to partner with First Financial Group of America, FFGA, to provide the Star Para recipient with a gift card. We're grateful to have a representative from FFGA here tonight. If you would please join Fraser Middle School Principal Tracy Curtis. They're going to introduce our Star Para, Rachel Savage. If you'll join them at the podium, Principal Curtis is going to share about what makes Ms. Savage so special.
Good evening, everyone. Board of Trustees, Dr. Rivera, and friends. Whenever I was filling out this application for Miss Savage for Star Para, it was just a no-brainer. Like, okay, I'm going to nominate a para. Well, hello, it's going to be Rachel Savage, because every time we do any kind of affirmation, shout-outs, anything, everyone goes straight to Miss Savage. And I'm like, okay, guys, we can't always give Miss Savage the affirmations. Let's have others, but she's just one of those that we cannot not praise her, because she's always doing something wonderful for the group. So I wrote something that's a little more eloquent than that. Rachel Savage exemplifies the qualities of a star para. Her positivity, flexibility, and willingness to take on any task with a smile set her apart. She approaches every responsibility with grace, making even the most challenging work look effortless. As a trusted teammate and a respected member of our school community, Rachel truly embodies excellence in service and collaboration. Congratulations, Rachel, on being selected as a star para. You are a star. Okay.
Up next, we are very pleased to recognize our October community partner for their support of our schools and our students. The Mesquite Police Department recently partnered with Mesquite ISD during Camp Excel and led a junior police academy course. Officers provided hands-on, engaging instruction for students in areas such as fingerprinting, traffic stops, and forensics. We have a very special video to share to tell you more about this partnership.
This month, we are recognizing the Mesquite Police Department as our featured Mesquite ISD community partner. We were actually meeting with Mesquite PD, and they were wanting to find ways to get involved with the school district, to promote their own program within the community. And basically, they said, whatever you want, we'll get it done. And they went just above and beyond to do that.
So this summer at Camp Excel, we did a range of different things to try to show the students different avenues they can take in the police department. We had patrol, we had traffic, we had drones, K9. On Friday, at the end, when they graduated, they got to have their badge pinned by Chief Gill. And next year, we want to showcase a couple more things, so hopefully we're invited back, and there's a lot more we can offer and show the kids.
We had first graders there, and for them to be able to get to them at such an early age, they just had the best time, and it was just a joy watching them learn what Mesquite PD does for our community.
Thank you, Mesquite Police, for your support of our students and for your participation at Camp Excel this summer.
Thank you so much. Now we're going to proceed with a few student recognitions. This evening we will recognize several students for academic achievements. First up, we have a student who was recently selected as a National Math Star. This prestigious program is designed to support gifted young mathematicians through various forms of support throughout their educational career. The long-term package of support is valued at over $100,000 and includes STEM enrichment opportunities, weekly one-on-one math mentoring, and much more. Introduce you to from, can I have that? From Gentry Elementary, our National Math Star is Lucas Garcia. Go on up, Lucas. Congratulations, Lucas. Next up, we have two students who scored in the top 2 to 3% nationally on the PSAT or NMSQT and have been recognized by the National Merit Scholarship Corporation with a letter of commendation. We have one of those students here today, Peyton Harden. She's from Mesquite High School, our National Merit commended. Come forward. And we want to recognize a second student from Poteet High School, Matthew Allenbaugh, was not able to be here because he's on the stage tonight performing in theater and fine arts. So we want to recognize him as well. But congratulations to Matthew and Peyton. And then lastly, we have another student who could not be here this evening, but we want to honor them as well. As one student, who scored in the top 1% of the PSAT and has an opportunity to advance in the National Merit Scholarship Program to become a scholarship recipient and finalist. So our National Merit semifinalist is from the Mesquite High School. That's Jessica Agbadiba. I'm sorry, Jessica. She couldn't be here this evening either. She's on the City Youth Council. Busy lady. So, but let's give a hand for Jessica. And that concludes our recognitions portion of the program.
Thank you very much, Ms. Smith. I believe I have a board member has a comment.
Mr. President, I want to tell you how impressed I am with the McKenzie students. Stand up. They're still here, aren't you? Stand up. By the way, they did an excellent job on the pledges. We appreciate it. But I'm more impressed that they stayed for the rest of this part of the meeting. I really am. They were really engaged in it. I think eventually we're going to see them being recognized for successes in their own rights. So thank you again for being here.
With that, we will take a 5-minute break and reconvene then. Thank you. Did you see the point? We reconvene our meeting. Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Board members, are there any items on the consent agenda that you wish to pull or discuss or vote separately? If there are none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
There's a motion by Mr. Seward, second by Ms. Collier, to accept the consent agenda as written. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Huh? No. No. Not for the consent agenda. Hell no. Okay. Next, we're going to reports of the superintendent.
Yes, Mr. President.
Go ahead. I was going to call your item, but you go ahead.
All right, so tonight we have one action item when it comes to the personnel section of the agenda, and that includes a coordinator for special education, which our Chief Communications Officer will take from here.
Board, I'd like to introduce you to Andretti Camper, a special education coordinator. He'll be joining Mesquite ISD with 6 years of experience in public education. Camper most recently served at Dallas ISD as a special education coordinator and instructional specialist for instructional support and compliance. He began his career as a special education teacher in Dallas ISD, where he earned Specialized Programs Model Teacher and Model Classroom honors, and was named Campus Teacher of the Year and District of the Year finalist. Camper earned a Bachelor's of Science in Biology and English from William Carey University and a Master of Education in Special Education from Texas Tech University. Mr. Andretti Camper.
We have to take a vote on that.
This is an action item. Hold your applause until he's actually hired.
Yeah. Right now, he was just introduced. Welcome. But we have to vote on this. So, board, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
This time I second it. Seconding is you this
Yeah,
time.
Ms. Collier. There's a motion by Mr. Bingham, a second by Ms. Collier,
got lost today.
to approve the administrative term contract of the coordinator of special ed. Any comments or questions? Being there none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, sign. Being there none, motion carries.
Now you can go out.
Now you- welcome. Okay. Next, we're going to construction items. Item number 1, the approval of the general contractor for package 2, AC New, McDonald Middle School, Horn High School, the Field House, and of multiple renovation packet. Mr. Superintendent, Dr. Rivera.
Yes, Mr. President, we going to talk about this. Don Poole's going to take it and take us through these projects.
All right, thank you, President Carbo, Dr. Rivera, and School Board. Thanks for hearing from us tonight. We're going to be naming the general contractors for y'all to approve for Package 2 and Package 3, and I'll go through those now. Uh-oh. It's not me this time. Inside joke. So we got packages 2 and 3. At the September board meeting, you'll recall that the schematic designs were approved. Then at the August board meeting, we determined construction manager at risk was the Bethad. Then we took the request for proposals August 12th. Mesquite ISD Construction Services received them September 2nd, and construction manager recommendation to be approved tonight. Okay, so the first package 2 is AC New Middle School, which was the administration renovation, security vestibule with single point entry, building system upgrades, and board approval for the GMP will be in April of 26. McDonald Middle School administration, security vestibules, clinic improvement, cafeteria renovation, expansion, building systems upgrade, and hopefully the GMP approval will be April of 26. And the Horn High School Field House, an addition with the weight room, meeting room, and restrooms. And the renovation includes locker rooms and training rooms, and we'll go for board approval for GMP in May of 26. For this package, the administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the recommendation of Crossland Construction as the CMAR general contractor for Package 2, which is AC New Middle School, McDonald Middle School, and Horn High School Field House of the multiple renovation packet. And with us tonight from Crossland Construction is Bailey McDonald. And with that, we'll vote on the Package 2.
Second.
There's a motion by Mrs. Bingham and a second by Ms. Hornby to approve action item number 1, the general contract for package 2. Are there any questions?
We've never worked with Crossland. I know that all of our GCs, there had to be at least one starting point. Do we feel comfortable with Bailey McDonald?
We do.
With all due respect.
We vetted it out really well. Crossland's been bidding our projects for quite some time. And then this time they were able to get it. And so we're welcoming them aboard. So they should be a good one.
Okay. Well, with that said, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it, motion carries. Very good. Go to item number 2, which is
Package 3, which is Beasley, Moss, and Gray. Beasley Elementary, it's basically from the 22 facility assessment, some kitchen equipment replacement, ceiling tile replacement, MPE upgrades, HVAC, electrical plumbing. Life safety upgrades include fire alarms and fire sprinklers. And then we'll go for board approval for GMP in February of 26. Moss Elementary will have some kitchen equipment replacement, MPE upgrades, includes HVAC piping and controls, electrical and plumbing. Life safety upgrades include fire alarm, and we'll go for board approval for GMP February of 26. And Gray Elementary with some kitchen equipment replacement, MPE upgrades for HVAC piping and controls, electrical and plumbing. Life safety upgrades includes fire alarms, and we'll go for board approval for the GMP in February of 26. And with that being said, the administration recommends that the Board of Trustees approve the recommendation of Buford Thompson Company as the CMAR general contractor for Package 3, Beasley Moss Gray, of the multiple renovation packet. And with us today from Buford Thompson is Mike Trammell and Teresa Shirtley. And with that, a vote.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the contractor package 3, which includes Beasley, Moss, and Gray Elementary for the CMAR recommendation.
And second. There's a motion by Mr. Seward, second by Ms. Hornby, to approve the general contractor package 3. Any comments or questions?
Quick question. I think I asked this before, Don, but these elementary school projects that we're doing, are those going to include the playground upgrades, or is that a different project?
That's a different project. We've got the playgrounds all together.
Will a shelter be a part of this too, or what?
No, ma'am, that won't be. These are pretty much, it's replacing all the mechanical stuff above ceilings, fire sprinklers and stuff like that. So it's really not the real pretty stuff, but it's necessary stuff.
There you go.
Mr. Poole, I've got the same question. To my knowledge, we've never used Buford Thompson before. Do we feel good about them?
We feel good
Mr.
about
Trammell
Buford
and
Thompson
Shirtley?
too. They've surprisingly, this is a general contractor that we have not been able to find anything bad on. And that's something that WRA tries to do very well, and we haven't been able to do it. So we're going to try them out.
Didn't you just bust him?
I don't know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, board. Any more questions? Being there none, all those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Poole.
Thank you.
At this time, I will go back to the audience portion on those that wish to speak on items on the agenda. I do have Ms. Woods present here. There you go. I know you weren't here, you came here in time to get into the audience portion. Today was different. We had it before this meeting started. So if you would come now and come speak, I would be glad to listen to what you have to say.
Good evening, board members, and thank you for taking me today. My name is Veronica Woods, and I'm the parent of a 5th grader at Beasley Elementary. I'm here tonight because I care deeply about the quality of education our children receive and the partnership that should exist between schools and families. This year, my child's school got rated a D from the TEA. Over the past year, I've seen consistent challenges that I believe have led to this and that need attention, specifically poor communication, weak instruction, and lack of accountability for improving academic outcomes. Parents are often left uninformed about instructional gaps or classroom issues until it's too late to intervene effectively. In my experience, communication with parents should be proactive, not reactive. We want to know what is being done to strengthen instruction, how student progress is being measured, and who is responsible for ensuring those improvements happen. I'm respectfully requesting that Beasley Elementary develop and share an official written improvement plan that includes specific goals for academic progress, clear steps for improving teacher communication and instructional quality, defined timelines, and accountability measures for review. This is not about criticism, it's about collaboration. Parents and teachers both want to see students thrive, and transparency is the key to building that trust. Thank you for listening and for your commitment to helping Beasley reach its full potential. Our children deserve nothing less.
Thank you, Ms. Woods.
You're welcome. I also have a request for a written improvement plan as well, if that could be taken a look at, or?
Ms. Woods, give it to the deputy superintendent, which is over there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Woods. Board, and if you forgive me, I took the liberty of allowing her to speak because even though we already had the audience portion, she wasn't here when we had that audience portion because we did it before time. So I think it's the proper thing to do to give Ms. Woods some time. Thank you very much for being respectful. With that said, let's continue with the agenda. We're going now to the business portion. The first item is an action item to conduct a public hearing on the 2025 Financial Management Report. And with that, we open the public hearing. Is there anyone that wants to speak to that? No one? No. Being there none, we're going to close the public hearing. Next, we're going to go to item number 2, which is a report for the 2025 Annual Financial Management Report. Here comes Mr. Prado.
Good evening, President Carbo, board members, Dr. Angel Rivera. Tonight, I have Ms. Kimberly Chappelle will be presenting the Financial Integrity Rating System first report for you, and she'll be more than happy to entertain any questions afterwards.
Good evening, President Carbo, Dr. Rivera, and members of the board. Tonight I will be presenting the 2024-25 School First Report based on data for the fiscal year 23-24 financial data. The School First system was created to hold districts accountable for the quality of their financial management practices. It promotes transparency, encourages sound financial decisions, and ensures taxpayers that public funds are managed responsibly. Under the Texas Administrative Code, Section 109.1005, each district must publicly present its rating, provide notice of the meeting at least 10 days in advance, post a report on its website within 14 days after the hearing, and allow for public comment. This presentation and the public hearing fulfill those requirements for Mesquite ISD. The School First rating system consists of 21 indicators that measure financial stability, solvency, transparency, and governance. Ratings are based on a 100-point scale. The first 4 indicators are considered critical, meaning failure of any one of them results in an automatic F. 7 others serve as ceiling indicators, which will cap the district's rating and prevent a perfect score of 100 if not met. All remaining measures are point-based and scored at either a 5 or 10 points each. Now I will briefly go through the 21 indicators. The first 4 indicators are critical, and our district passed all of them. Number 1, the district filed its annual financial report by the required November 27th deadline. Number 2, our independent auditors issued an unmodified or clean opinion, confirming that the financial statements present fairly in all material respects. Number 3, the district remained in full compliance with all debt agreements, ensuring responsible management of bonded and lease obligations. And number 4, all payroll-related liabilities were paid timely to the TRS, the Teacher Retirement System, the Texas Workforce Commission, and the IRS. Indicators 5 and 6 are ceiling indicators, and both were successfully met. At the end of fiscal year 2024, the district had a positive net position of $603.5 million, demonstrating long-term financial solvency. Number 6, the fund balance remained stable, reflecting a 4.8% increase over 3 years, and as of June 30th, 2024, was sufficient to cover 110 days of operations. Now, indicators 7 through 15 are scored measures, with each carrying a possible maximum of 5 or 10 points, depending on the indicator's weight and criteria. Number 7 evaluates the general fund's ability to operate without new revenue at year end. So as of June 30th, 2024, the district's cash and current investments covered 82.5 days of operations, compared to the 90 days required to earn the full 10 points. While this resulted in a score of 8, it's important to note that the calculation does not include the $29.5 million invested in long-term investments that could be liquidated if needed. So these funds were strategically placed in longer-term instruments to secure higher yields during a period of declining interest rates. Number 8 measures the current assets to liability ratio for all governmental funds, which reflects short-term liquidity. The district achieved a ratio of 2.87%, slightly below the 3.3% threshold for maximum points, earning another score of 8. Again, this ratio does not include the $39.3 million in long-term investments, which, if included, would have strengthened the district's liquidity position. Indicator number 9 evaluates the general fund's revenue, whether the general fund's revenue exceeded expenditures, or if not, whether sufficient cash reserves were maintained. As of the end of fiscal year 2024, revenues exceeded expenditures by $6.6 million, and cash on hand covered 82.5 days of operations, resulting in a score of 10 points. Indicator 10 was not evaluated, so the district received 10 points. Number 11 evaluates whether the district's long-term liabilities are proportionate to total assets. At fiscal year end, the district's liability to asset ratio was 52.7%, well below the 60% threshold, demonstrating strong long-term solvency. The district earned 10 points. Number 12 reviews whether the district's future debt obligations are reasonable compared to the taxable property values, which determines if the district's capacity to take on new debt. This ratio was 5.2% compared to the 4% required to receive the maximum points, resulting in the score of 8 points. Number 13 evaluates the administrative cost ratio, whether the administrative cost ratio remains within the state's threshold, ensuring that the majority of the funds support instruction rather than central administration. The district's ratio was 7.4%, which is below the 8.5% limit, earning the maximum score of 10 points. Number 14 examines whether the district experienced a significant decline in the student-to-staff ratio over a 3-year period. Enrollment decreased by 5.16%, which is below the 15% threshold, resulting in an automatic pass and a score of 10. Indicator 15 evaluates the accuracy of the average daily attendance projections submitted to the TEA, which are used to calculate state funding. For the biennium reviewed, actual ADA was 6% below projections, which is within the allowable 7% variance for full credit. As a result, the district earned a score of 5 points. Now, indicators 16 and 17 are ceiling indicators and were both successfully met. Number 16 evaluates the accuracy of the financial data reported to TEA by comparing PEIMS data to the annual financial report. The variance was less than 3%. Number 17 examines whether the external audit identified any material weaknesses in internal controls or concerns regarding the district's ability to continue as a going concern. The audit identified no such findings, reaffirming the district's financial stability. Number 18 determines whether the annual financial report was free of material noncompliance related to grants, contracts, or other state and federal funds. The independent auditor reported no such findings, and the district earned 10 points. Number 19 assesses whether the district posted all required financial information on its website in accordance with state laws and regulations. All required postings were completed as required, and the district earned 5 points. Indicator 20 and 21 are ceiling indicators, and both were successfully met. Number 20 evaluates whether the administration and board discussed changes in local, state, and federal funding within 120 days before adopting the budget. This discussion took place as part of the district's annual budget process, ensuring that leadership had the opportunity to consider the financial impact of any funding changes prior to adoption. And number 21 examines whether the district received an adjusted repayment schedule for an over-allocation of foundation school program funds due to financial hardship. The district did not receive or require such a schedule. So for the 23rd consecutive year, Mesquite ISD has received an A, Superior Achievement, earning 94 of the possible 100 points under the School First Rating System. And our last slide are the required disclosures. We have a link to the superintendent's employment contract, along with a link to the school first rating system on the TEA website, and a screenshot of actually the financial management report for the board and the superintendent. Any questions?
Board? I have one question. On number 8, indicator number 8 is the one on liquidity. And you mentioned that you have, well, we have $38 million in long-term investments that were not used in the calculation of that equation.
Yes, sir.
Is it because they don't count, or is there a reason for that?
It's just not part of their formula. They look at the current assets, so anything to be considered a long-term investment, it has to mature over a year at the end of fiscal year end. And so those actual items matured actually fiscal year 2026.
So they're looking at short-term liquidity, not...
Yes, yes. But that doesn't mean that if we needed the cash, it would not be available to us. It would be available to us if we needed it, but we did not need it.
We did not, okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Okay, thank you.
Great report. Okay, next we go to Section E, Administration. The first one is a report on student performance. Dr. Rivera?
Mr. President, we have a effectiveness report first on assessment and accountability. And Alicia Austin is
I
moved.
jumped that one.
It's okay.
We could always come back. Let's do the report on assessment and accountability.
Okay, John, so in the back, the president is asking for the accountability one
Is that what we're doing?
under administration.
Yeah.
You talking about student performance?
No, I'm talking about assessment and accountability, the one.
okay, the one.
Effectiveness report.
Okay.
I jumped it by mistake.
Okay, so staying with the agenda, John.
See, John's awake back there. Not that one. There we go. All right, good evening, everyone. So I'm here to do the effectiveness report for my department, that is the Accountability Research and Evaluation Department, and y'all have never heard me give a presentation like this because up to now, you've always heard just assessment data, but not really what my department is all about. So think of this as we're setting a baseline for what happens in my department, and we'll be able to report more findings this time next year. First things first, you need to know that we are all together in the same building. For the last at least 20 years, we've been in 2 different buildings. My department was split, some over at the service center, some in the admin building. And in January, we all moved into the same suite. And we thought at first it would be weird, everyone being all together, but it's been really great and efficient and very quick. We can react when others have meetings and things we can jump on. So I only see good things to come from us all being together in the same suite. One of my big focuses this year was a retooling of our departmental focus away from so much compliance driven to being more goal oriented. Our job is naturally about compliance. We can't avoid that. But what we can also do is help set goals to continue to achieve. And one of the things that we've started this year is working with every campus instructional specialist and test coordinator, which is really just the campus test coordinator at the elementary. We're working with them and help them set goals in their chosen area of support. So we gave them 6 areas where they could determine where they wanted to help grow their campus. And you can see the 6 options that they chose there. And what we've done is work with them to help establish that first goal, and then we will meet with them just like you would with a teacher on a campus at mid-year to check in on their goal progress and then ultimately see how they've moved forward. The thing that was important to me was that every goal was tied to student achievement in some way. It was about what are outcomes for students, whether it be measured by STAR or TELPAS or some CCMR measure. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out throughout the course of the year. Supporting those campus test coordinators is a big part of what we do. And so there is some compliance piece that you just can't avoid, making sure that they're ready for all the trainings of the different assessments that they give on their campus. We also, besides supporting them with knowing how to give the different assessments that there are platforms and tools that they use to do their jobs better. And I won't even go through all of them. That's just 3 that you see listed there. But they have to be trained on how to use these platforms so that they can then make sure that the assessments run smoothly for students. We also train all of the new people in these roles. We have 8 new elementary test coordinators and 2 middle schools. So we have 10 new people in these roles this year that we're checking in on regularly to make sure that they are keeping pace. And the good thing about that is many of those moved into administrative roles. So we look at this position as kind of a training ground for someone who wants to step into administration, which is why we're helping them set goals so that they learn to be a better leader across their campus. But what we want to get away from is their role feeling like my job is to run all these reports and give data to people so they can analyze it. We want them to take a role in analyzing that data as well and helping support their campus moving forward. Speaking of assessments, I wanted to give you just a quick overview of these are all the different assessments that our campus test coordinators are supporting. And not every student takes every one of these, but every campus test coordinator is responsible for making sure these go smoothly. And that's from the initial training that they receive on how do I give this test, to setting it up, to making sure students take it, and then ultimately what do I do with this data. So you can see that some run across all levels, others are specific, like Circle is just for pre-K evaluation, but you've got tests at all levels across all subjects that our test coordinators are responsible for making sure they run smoothly. Another part of our area of responsibility is state and federal accountability. So it's important that we have a real deep understanding of that accountability system so that we can speak with authority about it. And we don't expect campus administrators and teachers to walk around with that knowledge front and center in their head, but we give them the pieces we want them to know, and then we help support them with the details. So y'all know this is my 3rd year in this role. In the last 3 years I've done, I call it the accountability tour, and the tour ended September 24th, and I have started my residency up in my office. I'm back in the building, visiting all 50 of our schools that have accountability and meeting with them and looking at all of their reports so that they understand why their campus performed the way they did. And that's part of it, but what's more important to me is we determine what areas can they grow and help them set goals for achievement. And so I've done that now at all of our campuses, elementary, middle, and high school. And now the tour we circle back around to those that have other areas for improvement. I will say that some of the goals that we have set, I've got 8, maybe 10 campuses that I've identified that I feel like can be an A campus this year. And so with some tweaks and them understanding what their data means and what that would take, then we're working on that next. So they've seen their data, and now the second leg of the tour is, okay, let's see where we are that we can maximize, where you're just a few students away from crossing into that next threshold. Another part of the work that we do that's tied to state and federal accountability is the schools that are on the school improvement list. And some are targeted support, additional target support, or comprehensive support. So we work with them to help them create their local improvement plans or their targeted improvement plans, depending on what's required. And we partner with Region 10 on that work so that Region 10 comes out and we'll do a diagnostic on a campus. We were at a campus today. We spent all day there. We look at arrival. We go to classrooms and do walks. We do focus groups with teachers and administrators. We go in the cafeteria and see how those procedures go. We sit in the PLC, and then we watch kids go home to get a full picture of how the school runs. And the thing that Region 10 will do now is write up the report with making recommendations for improvement. And while some schools have to have a diagnostic, it is my goal that every school gets one, because it's good information to know where you can improve your school in all the different areas. So we also have a meeting on Thursday of this week with the schools who must create a local improvement plan or a targeted improvement plan, and I'll be working with those schools and their EDLD to work through that process. And once those plans are complete, they'll be posted on each school's website. That partnership with Region 10 has been crucial because we work with them not just with the ESF, the Effective Schools Framework, but also through training. So we've got a really great partnership with them. And then the last piece that's part of that federal accountability is every campus has to have their campus improvement plan, and district improvement plans also run through my office. So there's a lot that happens behind the scenes, And I definitely am not going to go through this bullet by bullet. Just know that things like when a student is bilingual and has to take a test in Spanish, if someone doesn't go in and change that when they open the Chromebook, their test won't be in Spanish. Special ed students need accommodations. Someone has to go in there and click all the buttons so that the test is accommodated appropriately. What I can say about all the things that we do is nobody knows that they're done unless we don't do them, and then everybody knows. So we're really good at making sure that students get the accommodations that they need. Tests are available, whether it's a PSAT test or an IBC, that they're all available when the students need them. And as long as we stay on top of our parts, then all of that work runs smoothly and no one's ever the wiser. And that's the way I like it. The last thing, the bullet I will talk a bit more about, is that part of what we started doing in the last few years is just doing a lot more data requests. People want to look at different sets of data in different ways, so we pulled that out, but we've also contracted out for an assessment audit. And I know you've heard a bit about that, but I'm going to give you a few more details about it. So we worked with an outside agency called Gibson, and they did an assessment audit of all of those assessments. So all of those that you saw listed back here, they looked at every single assessment that we give to determine, is there any overlap? Are we spending more instructional time? Are we spending more dollars than we need to? So they looked at it from a variety of standpoints. What was the financial cost? What was the time cost in terms of lost instruction because you're taking an assessment? So they gathered information all through last semester in the spring. They interviewed district personnel. They did focus groups with campus admin and support staff. They interviewed and surveyed teachers. And then they also took our DCPs and they analyzed those to see if they were aligned with TEKS and also with STAR ultimately. And so once STAR results came out in May, they took that data over the summer, and then they came back to us August, September to give us their findings. And just some of the findings that came out were that we needed to establish an assessment system procedural controls, meaning we can't have different departments deciding a group of students needs to take an assessment without checking in with someone so that we're not overlapping. So appointing a district assessment lead to unify that decision was one of the recommendations, and so that would be me. We also wanted to define and communicate vision and purpose for the assessments. What we found from the audit was we give some assessments that are really valuable, but if teachers don't know why they're giving it, they don't know what they're supposed to do with the data. So we will work through that throughout the rest of this school year, making sure that we have an assessment committee that is determining both for a classroom teacher, for campus leaders, and district people, what's the purpose of this assessment? What do we hope to gain from giving this so that we can make that message clear so people understand why we're spending valuable class time on it? Another big recommendation that they made was that we discontinued the DCPs. Those are our district checkpoints that we give periodically throughout the year. And they recommended that we get rid of those where we have iReady. And iReady is what we have now in place for reading and math to determine beginning of year, middle of year, and end of year growth for our students. So we've taken that recommendation and kind of moved forward with that. Where teachers really found value was in the CFAs, which are the common formative assessments, the short checks for understanding that they create when they're meeting with their fellow teachers to see, do kids understand what we've just taught? So teachers found a lot of value in that, so we're leaning in on making sure we're helping teachers write really robust, good questions at a high level to really assess what our students know. And then because iReady is new for us, you can imagine if you have something new and big like this that you roll out with not a lot of great support, it's not going to go as well as it could. So they highly recommended that we have really strong training and over the next 2 years really so that we can get full benefit from having iReady. So our next task really was convening an assessment committee. We established a purpose for benchmarks. That meeting happened just this past Friday. And every other assessment that you saw listed there, we will go through them one by one to make sure that we understand why this assessment is given. Some of them are given because we're required to give them, but there is data that we can learn from each of them. So we're working through that process now. And with that, I will say that hopefully this time next year, when I come back, I'll have some more things to report that will be beneficial. And come see us up in Suite 207, because that's where we are now.
Very good report.
So as parents, they need to listen to this the answer to your question.
It's coming. You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Austin.
Okay, I'll step back and then you can
Yeah, don't go too far because you have to come back. But sorry for the confusion. But now we will go to, Board, do you have any questions, anything else for Ms. Austin? Being there none, we'll go to administration now, report on student performance. Ms. Austin.
Well, hello, everyone. So a lot of this data I know that you've already seen, but hopefully if there questions have come out since we last looked through it, please let me know and I'll be happy to try and answer. So we will jump right in. So first things first, we're looking at our STAR data. We're starting with Domain 1, Student Achievement, and we're looking at a 5-year comparison starting back in 2021. I will remind you that that far left bar represents that first year out of COVID when we were doing virtual learning or hybrid learning and asynchronous and all of the things. And so we definitely saw a dip then. That second bar represents that second year out. We were fully back engaged, but it's also the last year before the STAR tests were all redesigned. And so we definitely saw a dip that came after that. So really looking at the last 3 years, 23, 4, and 5, that's more of a fair comparison to one another. Just keep in mind that sometimes the passing standards can change from year to year. So when you're seeing a fluctuation of a point or two, it might not be we had students who performed lower, it's just that the standard may have moved up and we didn't move with it. So what you're looking at first on the screen is RLA results at the MEETS level from 3rd grade through English 2. Since we give that STAR test every year, you see a lot of data on this screen, and this was STAR RLA at MEETS. The next screen shows you RLA at master's level, and you'll see here definitely we saw the difference from 22 to 23, 4, and 5, and that's primarily because of the inclusion of that extended constructed response, the ECR, that was a new portion of the reading test, and it's taken us a few years to really figure out what that test or what that question requires. You might remember English 1 and 2, they look low compared to the other grade levels, but that's primarily because their passing standard is so much higher. English 1, it's 84% to get to master's, and English 2, it's 88%. The others are between 71 and 75%. The other thing about the ECR, when a student gets a 0 on that, if you're an elementary student, that's worth 19% of your overall score. At the high school level, it's closer to 16. So mathematically, you can't get to master's if you don't get any points on that ECR. But we have a plan for that, so stay tuned. So what you're looking at here, we generally pull out Hispanic and ICARDIS as our 2 largest populations just to compare across state. And obviously, this is not where we want to be in terms of RLA performance. We had some more green last year, but we really consistently, for this past year, came up short in terms of comparing across the state. And we attribute that primarily to how ECRs have been going for us. This slide is a little more positive. What you see here is the decrease in the number of students scoring a 0. So you can see all the numbers in green for those grade levels. All but 4th grade and English 2, we saw a decrease in the number of students who got no points for their ECR. On the other end, you can see those who scored between a 6 and a 10, and 10 is the highest score. You have 2 scoring engines giving 5 points each. That would be a maximum score. So here we had some that went up, but some that went down. So think about, we've got fewer 0s, but we may have some fewer 6s and 10s. We've got more kids that are getting between a 2 and a 5, but we're moving that forward as well. So once we saw our 0s for this past school year, one of the things we did was submit rescoring. We submitted ECRs for rescoring, and I will tell you that TEA gives us a very short window. It's about 10 days. And what you do is we gathered people, and every 0 to 4 ECR we put eyes on from 3rd grade through 8th and all of the English 1 and 2. And that was hundreds and hundreds of them. Some were clearly a 0 because they didn't write anything. Others wrote some text, and so everyone we sat and read, and we ended up submitting 104 for rescoring, and you can see 41% came back with a higher score. And some as much as from a 2 to a 7, 3 to a 9. There wasn't just a 1 or 2 point increase. It was definitely an effort that we felt was beneficial. Part of the benefit too was we learned a lot more about what our students were writing and how we can help them score even higher. We ended up with 9 students who actually got a performance level change. Some went from meets to masters. One came up from did not meets to approaches. So we have a plan in place moving forward for this year that will be even more strategic, looking at students who are within a point or two from the next performance level. Even if they got a 5, we should probably take a look at it and see if that 1 or 2 more points can make a difference. From the student standpoint, what we learned was they need to know who they're writing for when they're writing this ECR, and they're writing for a computer. So it's very formulaic. It's not the kind of writing that we might have thought or trained them to do, but knowing that there are 2 scoring engines programmed to read their response, we need to make sure we're hitting the marks that are expected there. So the biggest one is just, what was the question? We read lots and lots where kids wrote several sentences and they got no points because they never addressed the prompt. The question asked them something and they summarized the story. So no matter how well that was written, they weren't going to get any credit if they don't address the prompt. So that's where we started for this school year. Another thing that we looked at was, what would it have meant if we had just 1 more point on an ECR or anywhere on the RLA test, but on the ECR in particular, since we had so many that had a 0. So the numbers that you're seeing there represent the number of students that had they gotten 1 more point on that RLA test, they would have moved up to a performance level. We had 84 that would have gotten to approaches in the 3rd grade, 71 who would have gotten to meets, and 82 to masters just in 3rd grade. That's over 1,700 kids that were just a point away from moving up a level. So that's why we will be looking at that as we get closer this year. Students that are on the bubble, what can we do to help them get to that next performance level? So some strategies we put in place to improve in RLA. As I've already stated, we have iReady that we're using as a BOY, MOY, EOY, beginning of year, middle of year, end of year. And once students have taken the beginning of year, now they have adaptive lessons that they practice on every week that helps them improve their reading comprehension. It also helps with grammar, spelling. There are different levels depending on where they tested. It starts them where they were and helps move them forward. We're also using their ECR from last school year that they wrote in April to determine where did they start in August? Because I don't know that many students went home over the summer and did a lot of practice on their writing. So how they wrote in April is probably how they'd write in August. Most all of our campuses have already done 1 ECR practice, and so now they're working through that data to see how we can help students perform. We're also focusing on our K through 2 students because those teachers play a part in it. Those are the grade levels where kids are learning spelling rules and grammar and punctuation so that can help enhance their writing. And then we've also developed, I say we, primarily Teaching and Learning has developed a framework for ECR writing that's 3rd grade through English 2. So no matter what grade you're in, when you go into an English class, this is the strategy that we'll use to address this ECR until we find out that they've changed it in a couple of years. But for now, this is what we're doing because that's what we know it to be. And then just making sure that we're focusing on reading and writing in all subjects, helping kids think on paper. I can remember telling a teacher that when they'd say, I don't teach writing, I don't know how to teach writing. Can you teach a kid to think on paper? Because that's what I need them to do, put their thoughts on paper. And we'll worry about the technical part in the English class. So that's what we're focusing on to improve RLA. We've made some gains in terms of ECR. We feel like we have a better plan and feel like we just understand the test better as it stands today. And as you know, for these next 2 years, the STAR test is still in place for this school year and the next. There'll be a change that comes after that. Moving on to math. So now we're looking at math at the meets level, again, from 3rd grade through Algebra 1. Those are all the levels where we test math. And you'll remember that 7th grade looks lower. I'll explain that when we get to the next slide, though. What you'll see here is that primarily in elementary, we saw about the same, maybe a few gains. You know that we start to split students. In 5th grade, how they test on the 5th grade test determines if they go into advanced 6th grade or on level 6th grade. And so that's why when we end up with 7th grade, depending on what they did in 6th, they'll either go into the 8th grade content, and the only students that stay in 7th grade are those who are not accelerated enough to move into 8th grade content a year early. So you tend to see that those are students that are scoring lower because they're weaker in math and they need some different interventions. When you're looking at masters, that shows up even more. The thought being, if you're able to score master's level in 7th grade, you should have been advanced. We may have missed it moving you forward anyway, but these numbers don't surprise me. You can see that we had some more gains at the master's level in math really across the board than we did at the meets. So we are moving more kids that direction. This was a slide that I got from Teaching and Learning because we wanted to look at how does our model stack out between the rest of the state. Not every district does what we do. By that I mean track as many as students as we can in advanced math. And when you look at across the state numbers for approaches, meets and masters versus ours, we are lower. But when you look at 3 districts who follow our model, we are not lower. We're very similar to scoring to how other campuses and districts do in terms of approaches, meets, and masters for students who go to 7th or 8th based on their ability. And this slide shows you that we've moved a lot more students to advanced than most districts similar to us. We're giving them that opportunity. You may remember the whole reason for that is students that take Algebra 1 in 8th grade have the opportunity to take calculus as a senior. If they don't do it in 8th grade, they have to go to summer school or double up, which is really difficult to do. So we're setting them up to ultimately get to the calculus level when they get to senior year. So here you can see MISD versus the state in math, and now the 7th grade numbers, while they really look pretty low, comparatively not every district does what we do, so it's not really a fair comparison to say that is across the state. It is true, but I don't think it's not supported knowing that the model we use is different. But primarily we're continuing to outpace the state in math, which we have done for many years. So for math improvement, what are we looking at? We also have iReady for Math, and it's helping students understand conceptually what they're doing, so they're not just practicing working problems and plugging in numbers or using a calculator, but really understanding the concepts of math. And so iReady is helping with that, along with filling gaps. And even though we understand why our 7th grade numbers are what they are still 7th grade students taking on-level 7th grade, so we want more of them to be on level. So we have to look at how are we going to fill those specific gaps and holes for those students. We also just this last week had training from Region 10, that research-based instructional strategies. And it was a full day of training with about 120 people attending. And I've already gotten some really great feedback. Campuses who've reached out to Region 10 and say, can you come here and share this with the rest of my teachers? Because we could only send a chosen few. But it really helps them understand how students learn math from kinder all the way through Algebra 1, and that there's a common thread that runs through all of them. And once they see that, it all makes so much more sense when they're trying to teach it. We also have someone in my department who we sort of deploy her out, and I told her she's like the spinning plates. She goes over here and gets this one going and gets this campus going, and then once they're up and running, then we've got her deployed somewhere else. So that's how I think of the role that she does, but she's out helping with data-driven instruction meetings and planning PLCs so that campuses are running more efficiently. Looking at science, we only have 3 grade levels that are tested. And while I say 3 grade levels, just know that the grade 5 and grade 8 tests are actually covering 3 years of content each. That 5th grade science test is now called the elementary science because it covers 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade TEKS. 8th grade covers 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So that's, you can see our results for performance at the meets level. And the standards for biology also went up. So even though I see a dip there, I also know that it went up 4%. So we just did not keep pace with the change there. Here are the numbers at the master's level for the 3 grade levels. And you can see while science 5th grade is lowest for masters, it's the first science test they've ever taken in terms of state assessment. 8th grade has a jump that's a bit better, and then biology is usually the next school year. You can see comparatively across the state, even though the scores look low, that across the state, science is low. And I say that because it only took, in some cases, 7% at master's to earn a distinction in science. We had 19 campuses who earned a distinction in science, so even though these numbers aren't all green, we have a lot of good things happening in the science department. Social studies, 2 tests, it's all you see. There's 8th grade, which is the first half of US history from the beginning to about the Civil War, and then US history picks it up, Reconstruction on. And it dawned on me recently that, you know, when I finished in high school with US history, we stopped at Vietnam, and now we're going through 9/11. So history keeps going. It's not like it ends. It's just there's more and more for them to cover. The students that you see that are the orange bar in 8th grade at 19% meets are the same students that are purple and 58% at meets. So 3 years later, maybe they've warmed up to history and the test itself, but we see a lot better improvement there. The standard for U.S. history is a little lower, but not enough to explain that difference. At the master's level, you can see the gap as well between 8th grade and U.S. history. Across the state, we're not where we want to be in terms of just hanging in with similar districts across our area, but we know we have some room to work on there as well. So what are we doing for science, social studies? Really for science, it's eyes on all levels, because even though that test happens in the 5th grade, it's covering 3 years of content for elementary and for middle school, and giving students lots of hands-on opportunity to really do lab work and work with the science so that they see it in action is something that we've seen yield some really good results. For social studies, it's just tackling those TEKs, because like I said, it's so much to cover with many TEKs, some that are never tested, but they're all taught. So focusing on those that are highly tested that we know we're going to see time and time again, making sure kids are familiar with how to read a graph and a chart and a map, because some of the questions are based solely on, can you read this and interpret what's here? And really just approaching it like a reading test, because there's a lot on it to read, and how our reading scores go tend to be how our social studies scores go. The difference is the social studies passing standard is a lot higher than it is for reading. Okay, so this slide, what you're looking at is just a comparison, so you can see the improvements we did make from 24 to 25 overall. Our districts cross over into the B threshold, and that's where we're staying, if not moving forward. You can see there, besides what we just covered, which was everything that was just student achievement, you also have school progress, which is all about growth or relative performance. That we're looking at our EcoDis numbers compared to like school districts and how do our kids perform. That closing the gaps measure, that's all federal accountability, hitting targets for individual student groups. So you can see from 24 to 25, we have made some gains. And I will say that I made a statement last month at the principal meeting that I am not retiring until we are an A district. But y'all, I'm tired. So I need us to get this moving, because, you know, we've got some work to do, but it's doable with some concerted effort in the right places. So with that, I will take any questions that you may have.
Board, any questions?
Yeah. Ms. Austin, first off, I want to thank you for the amount of time you have put into researching all this and the accountability tour. I know it takes a lot of effort, but the data that you're pulling out, I know that we had a lot of this information in our team of 8. You know, all of this is pointing towards one of our strongest goals that we've laid out for the district as well as for the superintendent, has to do with student achievement, student performance.
Yes.
So I think this has given us some things to work on. I know that everybody's got a hand in it.
Yes,
But at your direction, pulling that together, it allows us to see what it is we need to change so we can focus on those students to help them perform better, not just progress, but where's the achievement
Right.
and so forth. So I really appreciate the amount of effort and time you put into this. Thank you.
No problem.
The 7th grade hybrid model that we do, when you talk about comparing us to other districts that do it like we do in the state, how did the other districts do it? Like as far as statewide, do
They just
when
leave
they go
kids
into
where they
7th
are.
grade, they're in 7th grade math?
Correct.
So that's why we lag, because we're putting our 7th graders in
kids.
8th grade math.
Yes, and we're supposed to now, any students that test in the top 40% in 5th grade are supposed to take that advanced 6th grade, but we're pushing 67%. We're not pushing just the required minimum 40. We're identifying other students that have the potential to move a little faster so that they have those other opportunities when they get to high school.
Perfect.
We spent quite a bit of time with you a couple of weeks ago on Team of 8, and I want to echo Robert's thank you for your work. After the Team of 8 meeting that day, I went home and told my wife I'm more excited and optimistic that we are getting everybody moving in the right direction. And a lot of the basis of all that is your analysis and the way that you're explaining it to people, and so thank you for that. And thank you for everybody that's had a hand in all this. It's a
team effort.
It's a team effort all the way up and down the line, so.
Yep.
I like the way you guys all talk to each other, teaching and learning, and you and everybody else that is all clustered in. That, I think that's going to be progress. I mean, I see us really ramping things up because we're collaborating at all levels. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay.
I was just going to add that Jessica Braswell is our math coordinator at the secondary level, and she has been doing extensive research, Mr. Rose, to answer your question about what is the 7th grade math model across other districts in the state. And she's uncovered a few different models that have some pros and cons. We feel pretty strongly that our model is a good, solid model, but we are investigating one other alternative possibility. But she wants to make sure if we do launch some sort of pilot model that it's done well, that we would have the resources to determine whether or not that would be a more effective route for our campuses to go. But I just want to give her a shout out, one, because she's just amazing, and second of all, because she's taken the time to call lots of other school districts, look at their data, and really inquire about, what is best for kids? How can we make sure that the greatest number of kids are successful in a particular model, and she made some really sound recommendations for us. So over the course of this next year, she's going to continue her planning and make some recommendations for us going into next year.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
What kind of feedback did you get when you because you did your accountability tour before this part. What kind of feedback did you get from bringing the data back, being like, hey, this is where you are, this is what?
I don't think anyone was surprised. Well, the way we started every meeting was, this is not about your assessment data. I expect you've looked at that. You've had it since May. This is about your assessment data run through the accountability system and how these scores are generated. So we can see where you're coming up short, where we can maximize. So helping them understand how, in some cases, it's a matter of 12 students at one campus that are a make or break for that domain 3 hitting the targets. So helping them just pinpoint where are student gaps. And sometimes it's just students, like I said, it's a small number that you don't even have eyes on and aren't even sure that you need to be watching. So helping them understand that, but the feedback is, actually, I'll tell you, the first year I did it was the first year I was in this role, and I did it more for me than them, just to understand it really deeply. And this year, I didn't think they wanted me to come back, because I thought, you've done this twice, you know how to read your own data. Oh, no, that was wrong. They're like, when are you coming? Get on the schedule. And so I accelerated it even more so I could get them all done in a month. And so it was a lot, but I didn't want them to wait till October to find out how to understand their accountability. So, but yeah, they were definitely receptive. And when they were done with me coming and explaining it, is when I'll quit going. But it sounds like they're not yet, so.
We need to get her a helicopter.
Maybe, yeah, well.
We're in deficit, sir. No.
A Segway?
Get Vanguard to go one.
We'll get her a driver.
Oh, I'd take that.
That would be nice.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ms. Austin. Well, board, that was the last item we have. Is there? No, you said. Oh. Well. Yeah.
You know, it's all about Taylor. I've been asking to move this up in the agenda. Nobody wants to take me up on it. So we actually, if I could see the future, I would have taken this off the agenda, but we didn't know if anybody would come visit the first 3 days of October last week or today, and they haven't. So we have not had a single intruder audit since our last board meeting. We're still at 7 as a district, 6 elementary, and 1 middle school with no findings. So there's nothing new to report, and maybe next month. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Taylor. Yeah. Right. Now that that's the last item, we could ask, do you have any questions concerning exhibits or any information? Being there none, we call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.